I think we have to face reality. There is a new, more negative kind of uncertainty out there today. I think we are now living in the midst of three interlocking crises. The first is a crisis of leadership. At the top of some famous companies, responsibility went missing. One of the great tasks of leadership is to prepare for events, to be ready when the storm comes. On any measure, leadership failed that test. And this crisis of leadership was compounded by a simultaneous crisis of governance. Accountability and oversight went missing too. Nobody said stop when bad practice was developing. Governance failed, and it failed badly. The result of poor leadership and worse governance is that we are now experiencing a severe crisis of expectations. Businesses, regulators, and governments are now unsure what success looks like. This complex world feels out of control. We now live in a world in which the only certainty we have is that the world is uncertain. The question, therefore, is, what can we do about it? How can we survive, and how can we thrive in this new world? Let me put the solution first in a single word: adaptation. We have to adapt. 150 years ago now, Charles Darwin published his classic on the origin of species. Darwin's most brilliant insight, which has stood the test of time, was that it is not the strongest that survive, but the fittest. Those who thrived were those who could adapt to the changing environment. You know, I became CEO of PepsiCo in late 2006. I have to say it's amazing how rapidly the world has changed since I became CEO. The boom of the first half of the decade quickly gave way to the troubled times in the second half, and I've seen the importance of devising new rules as I went along over the last 4 or 5 years. And believe me, I don't have all the answers. I only wish I did. But I do have 5 thoughts from what I've learned, and I hope they'll be useful to you. The first point is that all of us have to explicitly recognize that we are in a new reality. From the top to the bottom of the company, we have to accept that we are in a new era of uncertainty. These days, volatility is not just the way that our normal lives are disrupted, it is our normal lives. We have to speed up everything we do. We need to start the next plan while the ink on the old is still drying out. And we need to make sure that we've built uncertainty into our plans from top to bottom, and we have to start thinking in a wholly different way. Because responding to change is not the same as being fickle. We need to learn a whole new skill, the skill of adaptability. That's my first thought. The second point is that leaders and corporations have to lead for today and tomorrow at the same time. Uncertain times require us to have a long-term horizon. It's the companies with a long-term mission that will thrive. Companies that thrive in the new environment will be those that define a compelling role and a compelling vision for the role they play in society. Because I believe that a good company is more than just an engine for the generation of profit. People want corporations and brands to stand for something. At PepsiCo, we've tried to capture that insight in the phrase, performance with purpose. Performance with purpose is a marriage of the short term and the long term. We don't make the mistake of neglecting our investors in the short term because it's their capital that feeds our investment for the long term. But these short-term results must be sustainable in the long term, otherwise companies cannot survive. And speed and agility have become our best allies, as they should yours. The only way to function in today's world is to be lean and extremely low cost. We need the maximum efficiency today so that we can deliver great performance and invest for the future. So that's lesson number 2. Lead for today and tomorrow at the same time. My third point. In these volatile times, we have to be ambitious. We must make big changes to big things. So this is not a time for small changes. We need to make big changes to big things. And innovation today in this environment is not about just refreshing what you have. It's about rethinking and reframing your entire product offering, your complete service offering. It's about encouraging borderless innovation, where the clever practices of low-cost countries are brought to places where costs are higher. Disruption is now our friend, not our enemy. So my advice is disrupt yourselves deliberately, because if you don't, competition is going to. But all of this presents a great opportunity for anyone who's prepared to rewrite the rules and learn new skills. My suggestion is that all of us look to establish internal disruption groups in our companies that question every practice. They go looking for unusual ideas because the clock speed in this new world is extremely rapid, and we need to adapt constantly. Only the fittest will survive. So what I've said so far is that volatility is here to stay. We have to manage for today and tomorrow at the same time, and we have to make big changes to big things. And as a CEO, you have to do all of that with your leadership team. You have to make sure that they are capable of going on this journey with you, which brings me to my fourth point. Attracting and developing the right talent is perhaps the most important leadership task of today in this volatile environment. Because leaders in this new era will need courage, confidence, perseverance, accountability, openness to new ideas, and the ability to manage rapid change. It's quite a person we're looking for these days. I know I have some fabulous leaders at PepsiCo, and I'm sure all of you have some of those in your companies too, and perhaps you're some of those fabulous people yourselves. All of the experience of these fabulous leaders is invaluable, but we're constantly thinking about how we retrain people in this age of change so we allow the experience to adapt to the new realities. We need a team that's diverse, a team that spans a whole range of ages, nationalities, ethnicities, because we need to tap into their talent and recognize that because ideas recognize no boundaries, neither should we. And we need to develop and evaluate these leaders totally differently than we used to before. We realize we need to recognize and reward the ones who are willing to go outside normal boundaries, willing to challenge conventions. The whole process of leadership development has to be rethought in this age of volatility. Because in this time of volatility and uncertainty, the way companies buy, broaden, and bond talent will be the key to whether companies atrophy, survive, or thrive. My fifth and final thought for the time of uncertainty is that leaders have to be super visible in the organization and to the outside world in these times. Every organization has to make sure their leaders communicating the vision of the company to everybody in the organization. Everybody in the organization needs to understand the realities on the ground. And everyone needs to know how the company is moving forward. Because if the leader doesn't tell them, someone else will. There will be press speculation, rumors will circulate in the workplace, uncertainty will breed anxiety, and it's natural for people to be concerned. The best way to deal with this is not to deny that it's true. It's open door, let the people in. Talk to the people, listen to them. It's always been good advice for leaders, but now I think it's an imperative. Because leadership is not just a rational thing, it needs an emotional connection. I'm conscious that I've spoken as a CEO, and my main message has been that the answer to uncertainty is creative adaptability. That creative thinkers need to be liberated. And I want to say a word about the most creative among us, namely all of you, the marketing, advertising gurus of this part of the world. I wouldn't dream of telling you how to do your job, but I want to leave you with a few questions, because I know this is the end of the conference, not the beginning, but it's always good to leave a conference, pondering about some big questions. So let me just take a shot at a few of them. From my perspective, in an uncertain world, brands provide continuity and stability. But do the old methods of connecting them to consumers still work? Because I'm constantly surprised that the tried and tested TV commercial is still the dominant mechanism for communication, even with the emergence of all this new social media. Do big advertising ideas still have the same impact they did years ago? I don't know. Are they really cutting through all the clutter on the airwaves? Are they really giving companies a return on investment? In a world where mass communication has gone to mass customization, has marketing as a function really adapted? Have advertising agencies disrupted themselves for themselves and for their clients? I don't know, John Wren, I'd love to hear from you. You know, all of you, your world is turned upside down. And you have traditionally been the creative leaders. Ask yourselves, have you changed enough? Have you really rewritten the rules as yet for yourself? You know, outside there's a lot of fear and trepidation all around. But I do believe we can generate opportunity from uncertainty. I retain great faith in the power of human ingenuity to overcome the problems that human beings have created for themselves. This is your rallying call. This is your opportunity, your chance to shine. Because the future has never been made by predictors or skeptics. It has always been made by dreamers and doers and innovators who embrace uncertainty, those who seize the day to shape the future and show us a way forward. Those businesses are the ones that are able to say they knew what they were for and they followed that mission everywhere and at all times. So as I close, I want to leave you with the words of the psychologist Erich Fromm, who said, "The quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. Uncertainty is the very condition to impel man to unfold his powers." Uncertainty is the very thing to impel man to unfold his powers. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. It's been a privilege to speak with you. Thank you.